Good morning, everybody. No one wants to listen to a long introduction, so I'm Madeline. You can call me Mad, and this is part one of my mini sketchbook tour. Thanks for joining me. This is sort of the beginning of my journey of trying to finish a sketchbook, and I finished half of it, and I thought I would just share it with you all now. So here we go. So to sort of get over that blank sketchbook hump, I did a sort of mini collage and then just like filled in the background with Poscas. And honestly, this is exactly how I was feeling that day. And so that sort of sets the tone of the sketchbook of where I was emotionally, mentally when I started this. I needed something to get me out of my head. Hence, this sketchbook was born. First page, I was just playing with Posca markers and like seeing what they did in this sketchbook and like scratching it all up. Then I went into my sort of go-to sketches, which is just with a pencil. I couldn't get the face right on this. I really liked this little rabbit. It's sort of like stylized, especially in the face, which I like. But these are just sketches, just to get me going. This was a non-referenced, I think, squid that I really was trying to figure out how to draw it coming at you. But oh well. I was just trying to draw every day. There was no rhyme or reason to what I was drawing. It was just make sure something got drawn every single day. So today I was doing loose sketching, which is just taking a pen and going faster than I normally would sketch and seeing what I came up with. This was an atrocity, but this I liked, and this is really funny. So it's a really good exercise when you just don't know what to do. Here's some more playing with Poscas. I drew a wood duck, but stylized it so that I could color it specifically with the pastas. And I was playing around with how to like blend these Poscas together. This girl, I really loved the figure. I really loved how I did the foreshortening. I think it's the first time I've done foreshortening that well. The face, just ignore, because I'm not great at faces, and especially small faces at the moment are really hard because I want to put all of the features in and there's just no room. I need to put like hints of features, but I'm bad at that at the moment. And that's fine. That is literally something I'm trying to work on because I love drawing people and I'm bad at them. So to make myself feel better, I was like, why don't you just draw something for fun? And so I drew an owl, but I wanted to draw it in a style that was not my own. So trying someone else's style, like more of a like storybook or a kid's book cartoon. And I went in with pen first and then tried to do a more refined version, but I realized without a reference, I still didn't know what owl wings looked like. So there's that. More playing with Posca pens, just seeing how they layer and what I could create. This was a head I did just as a redemption for that last figure drawing, proving to myself that I could draw heads. And this was after I'd sort of studied proportions a bit better. I have to refresh that every time I sit down to draw faces or heads because it just doesn't come naturally to me unless I've recently practiced looking at the basic building blocks of how heads are put together. So that's a goal for getting better. This was the first time I took the sketchbook outside. I just went in with a purple micron pen and did a little clover by the river. This is just some pigeons I wanted to draw with the same micron colored pens just to see what kind of marks I could make. I wasn't happy with this one, is why this one did not get colored, because it could not figure out how to poof up this little fluff ball. Poof up this little feather ball like he was in the reference. Here's another exercise. When I didn't know what to draw, I did what I told myself before, draw owls in a style that isn't yours. And so I started drawing owls without reference and with reference, but in styles that I wouldn't do. So I'm more of a like, try to get it into a realistic like style so that I can understand the features because I'm still very much learning. But this was more just playing of what owls could look like. This was like trying to be cutesy, and then I was like, no, I can go way more cutesy than this. And so I made a little like squishmallow owl. That was my version of a squishmallow owl. It didn't quite come out, but I do like the little heart face and how little bitty it is. This is my version of if I were a child, like just, fist around the crayon. What kind of owl would I draw? And I actually really enjoyed that. It was very freeing. That next page is a little personal, so we're gonna skip it. This I did by the river, using some new Pantone Royal Talons markers that I got. They're water-based. They were not meant for the sketchbook, but I was using them in the sketchbook anyway. And just seeing if I could draw some sage by the river. I think it turned out pretty well. I only had 3 colors, So I was just playing around with those 3 colors. Here's more of me really just not. This was, I needed to get something down. I had a red Faber-Castell kneaded eraser sent to me, and it was really sticky, and I was trying to understand why it was so sticky. So that's what this page is. And this page is just a reflection of what my brain is doing at all times. So there's that. But this is important. This was a day when I didn't think I could get anything out on the paper. And I did. And it was just sort of drawing my feelings and frustrations out. And that is a perfect way to use your sketchbook on a day when you just don't want to. The next day was a little better. I had my breakfast out in the garden. I saw a hummingbird in the wildflowers that we have out back. And so I just started drawing what was in front of me. But you can see the next day I had a hard time again. And one of my strategies for when I'm having a really hard time drawing in my sketchbook is I'll make a collage. I'll do a different type of medium. So this was a 1 magazine challenge. I just grabbed a magazine, cut out all of the images that I liked in it, and then at the end took the pieces that I had and just put them down in here. And this was my little really simplified collage that I made. And I like it. It's just something that reminds me that even on bad days, I can do something. And it doesn't have to be what I set out to do. So, again, this didn't work magic. It wasn't like I put this collage in my sketchbook and then everything was okay. I still wanted to draw and I still couldn't. So that same day I did another technique that I use to get my drawing, which is just put down shapes that I don't normally use. I usually find a famous abstract artist that I'll want to mimic, and I'll just follow their expression of how they use shapes. This page was like an exercise in what I don't like, and the only reason I like this page is because I kept drawing. After this, I kept drawing, and this gave me the confidence to be like, okay, maybe I can do something I actually want to draw. Let's try a fish. The fish's expression should tell you how difficult this fish was. I almost cursed. This fish was to draw. I don't understand why fish are so difficult. That's something I need to work on. But I drew it, and by drawing this, I was able to draw this. This happened the same day. I actually colored this first. I went in with markers after this. I was like, maybe I'm just approaching things wrong. I'm going line heavy, line heavy. Maybe I just need to go the other direction. And so I went in with those 3 markers that I had, put in the values and colors and hues, and then went over it with sort of like a loose thing, and I really liked it. The next day I was trying to figure out how best to use these pens because they weren't layering the way I wanted them to, and so I was figuring out how they layer on this paper and realizing that I really can't blend them, and then learning later that they're not supposed to be blended. Yeah, so like the difference here between magenta on blue or blue on magenta. I was just playing with those things, and that filled a page in my sketchbook, trying to understand. But I didn't just swatch them in a boring way. I swatched them in a way that made me interested in using them. And again, that is the point. I want to be interested in using my sketchbook. I don't want to be forcing myself to draw something I think I should be drawing. Case in point here, again, I had just had those 3 markers, and I was sitting by the river, and a bee was going by me way too fast to draw. So I just got some yellow onto the page, scribbled some black on it, and the bee was gone. But over on this side, I had done just this interesting little swatches, and so I tried to make something out of it. And this turned out to be one of my favorite little spreads. It's not my style at all. It's very whimsical, childlike, but I love this little mosquito. This was the same day by the river. I was trying to capture this family of ducks. This mama had 5 little ducklings that were following her around, but they were just moving way too fast. That night, because I still wanted to draw birds, I drew this. I can't remember what it's called. Oh gosh, I forgot about this page. Oh no. So again, I just used the bleed through, and I just drew something real quick. And I think that was my problem, because I just went in with a brush pen. I didn't make it neat. I didn't make it pretty. And so on the other side, I thought, well, maybe I'll just try something completely outside of my comfort zone, which is no sketching, going straight in with marker, drawing something I don't know what it looks like. Bad idea. Bad idea. But because I hated this page so much, it sent me into a art block spiral where I just couldn't draw anything. I couldn't get my mind around using my sketchbook. And so I had to go into more strategies. Again, I just looked at reference of modern art and I sort of reimagined it in my own ways. And I think I tried to keep going. Yes, I tried to keep going because once you make something you like, you just want to keep going. So again, my Posca pens, I'm just using Posca pens. Easy, simple materials. And then I did one of my little circles and spacey scene. I was able to draw a dog, even though I don't know how to draw a dog, but I just thought I would draw a cute little dog in a space uniform because he's in space. And that didn't help. My mood was still awful, but I just kept drawing. Again, I kept drawing, putting color on the page, trying to make me happy. Like, this is what I wanted. This is how I felt. This is what I wanted. This is how I felt, right? It's just, I wasn't thinking that way consciously when I put it down, but that's what ended up happening. Just using shapes and color to get my emotions out so that I can move forward. And then I painted this. I didn't paint it. This is still Posca markers, but I did it the next day. I sketched this in that day that I had done all of this, and I decided that was enough. I had managed another sketch. I was pleased. I had used the sketchbook. That was enough. And then the next day I came back with my Poscas and I made these peaches, and they are probably my favorite thing in my sketchbook. Not the bag necessarily, but these peaches, because I've never done anything like that. I've never had any formal art training. So this was all just, you know, monkey see, monkey do. And I really liked it. I had limited colors, limited experience, and I made something that I really liked in my damn sketchbook. Am I allowed to curse on YouTube? Oh, right. And so the next day, because I was so pleased with this, back to sketching. Yay, drawing things that I'm actually trying to practice. So different animals like great white sharks. I went in with no reference. And then I looked for references. Then I moved on to piggies. I love pigs and piglets. This was still really difficult. Drawing's really difficult for me. I mean, I can produce this stuff, but it takes a long time and a lot of trial and error. You can see my eraser marks. So after those pigs, I was really discouraged again, and I had to do more just shapes and colors with Posca just to get myself out of that bad headspace. And then I doodled this little kid dreaming about going to space, but I made him sort of like have an alien helmet because he wanted to be with the aliens, not the humans up in space. This is back at the river. This is my puppy dog. His name's Appa, and he does not hold still or like me when I try to draw him. He just like, you're staring at me, and he'll get up and do something else immediately or come in my face and want to play. And so this was as close as I've ever gotten to actually capturing what he looks like. And he had water dripping off of him, and he was sniffing at the ducks. But, you know, he doesn't sit still, and so I laid down a foundation for this piece that I was going to color, but it never actually got done because I was playing with him instead. Oops. I think this is the next day because I was trying to draw, and I had nothing in my brain, and so I made a little box, and I had seen a photograph of reflections in the water, and I wanted to mimic it. And then this is just a really stiff sketch of a puffin. And this is a reference to the Greek, I think it's Greek legend of somebody pushing a boulder up the hill. And I don't remember any of the details because that's not what's necessary. The reason I wanted to draw it is because it was described as the human condition. And I just found that so relatable to what I was trying to do, trying to draw every day, trying to improve, knowing that it's more to do with your muscles, your mindset, like where you are in life, and, you know, whether you've warmed up, whether you've been drawing for 10 days straight or haven't drawn in 3 months, all of that makes a difference when you sit down at the table to draw. And I wanted to remind myself that this process is just part of the human condition. We just keep rolling that boulder up the hill. And that is where we're going to finish this sketchbook tour for now. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please come back for part 2, because hopefully there will be a part 2. Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next time. Bye.